Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my shop. Today, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to screw down my big flat lap, and I have decided on the pieces I am going to use on the first time using this piece of equipment. I had decided to not use to not put my biggest and best piece, which is this piece here of petrified wood in. You can see it's a really nice big log end cut, natural on one side, of opalized wood from Montana. I have decided not to put this piece in first because it's my biggest and best piece. And if anything goes wrong on my first batch, I don't want to mess this piece up, because it's such a beautiful piece and I just don't want anything happening to it. This piece is going to have to stay on longer also because it's got these gouges from the saw blade. You can see them going across. Deep scratches from the saw blade when it was being cut. It also has some stabilization. You can see it was filled with epoxy there for a crack that was going into it. But it's also got some really nice, pretty, crystal-filled voids and some interesting rotted areas from when it was still wood that also has small crystals in them. So what I am going to do instead is I picked out 3 smaller pieces of petrified wood here. This one is already polished on this side. It is from Utah, Blue Forest. I have always wondered why they didn't polish the side with the quartz and calcite. So I am going to flat lap that side as well and bring that up to a polish. This is a piece of wood from here, from somewhere in Oregon. I don't know exactly where. It's missing a little piece out of that side, a chunk. But it's a really nice big piece, chunky piece. It's also an end cut. And this piece I have through the visit at the Northwest Rice Museum, where I went for the picnic the other day. I was able to identify this and find out where it was from. This is actually fossilized cherry wood from the McDermott area. And it's missing just a tiny little chip, but other than that is a full round. So, and this is just a slab. But one of the things I was told in the documentation, I got the manual for this machine. One of the things they suggested is for beginners to get a big permanent marker and to black out the surface on the pieces that you're going to be grinding. So I have blacked out this side, and that will tell you when you have gone through and it is fully level, fully flat. Because the high points will wear down first, and you'll see the marker go away on those first, and it will remain in the low points. Kind of like with this machine when I'm polishing, and you see when I'm working it, you'll see the dry areas, and then you'll see lower areas that still have water. This is just another way of showing you where it's been worked and where it has not. So I got a really nice Milwaukee Inksol black marker. And this is the extra large chisel tip. I have never seen a marker with this big of a chisel tip on it, and it is just perfect for doing this. I'm going to struggle here trying to open it up. Actually, I'm going to set my phone down here. I've had extra large chisel tip markers from other manufacturers like Sharpie. Now this is an extra large chisel tip marker. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go up to the edge, but not over the edge. And just black out the entire surface. You see, this is like 4 times the surface area. Okay, that's got a lip on it. I'm gonna have to grind off that lip before I put it on the machine. So also this, marking it with a marker like this tells you if there's a lip on it, because it says to remove the lip, if there's a high lip on these, to grind down the lip beforehand. Because if they have a lip, that's probably why this piece over here, it had a hollow area and a piece that came out on it originally. And that's probably why that broke off. The lip can catch down in the areas between these squares and keep it from spinning like it should. Now you see it's black. This area in the middle looks shinier. That's because it has a different mineral content, I guess. It's just, you remember it was a black area to begin with, so it looks blacker than the rest, but the whole thing looks black. So I need to take this edge off, and I'll do that using my coarse wheel on this, extra coarse, this one, before I put it on here. I can feel around this one, and this one does not have one, so I'll just mark that up. I'll do around the edge first. Because you want to stay on the surface. Because you don't want to have to work down. Of course, you can remove this marker with like acetone. So if you get it like down into the crystals, you can work it out of the crystals with like acetone and a Q-tip. Or something like that. So there we go. I've gone up to the edge of the crystal void there and there. I did not go down into that area because I don't intend to grind down into that area. Now, that chisel tip is about 3 times the size of my king size Sharpie chisel tip. So that is a perfect marker. These sell at Home Depot for $3.98. I think I paid like $5 for my aluminum cased king size Sharpie marker. So they're even less expensive than the Sharpie. My next step on this one will be to put 3 dots of hot glue on it, because I need to put some of my weights that I made previously in my previous video onto it, because it has a large surface area and therefore needs extra pressure on it to make sure it actually grinds. So I've got a high temperature hot glue gun and glue sticks, and I've got these weight pucks that I made up with acrylic resin and lead shot. Each one of these weighs about 6 ounces, so that'll be about 1.5 pounds, and they will cover about the surface area of the piece. And I'll just attach those on, and that should be good enough to get a pretty good grind on that. Now my last step before I start these will be that I have to make a weighted ring to go around these. I have to keep them from vibrating up against each other and having them clack up against each other and do damage to each other while on the vibrating lap. So what I have is 7/8 of an inch vinyl tubing. Not 7/8. It's no, it's like 5/16. It's basically the same size almost, a little smaller diameter than what they use for a bumper ring here. But what I am going to do is I'm going to fill this with lead shot because we need it to be weighted so that it doesn't just go up over the edge of a slab. So I'm going to fill it with lead shot, and then I have some barbs also coming in today that will just go into one end, and I'll cut the other end of the piece to go around it, and I will stick the two ends together using the double-ended barb. It's basically a union. So I'll have weighted rings to go around the individual pieces so that they will stay in their particular zones. The rings will be able to move around on here. The pieces will be able to move around on here. The rings will go loosely around the pieces so that the pieces and the rings will be able to move around, because we do not want them just grinding around one spot on this. We want uniform grinding. We don't want high spots and low spots, because if we have high spots and low spots, then the stones we have that are larger will not get a uniform grind. So that's what I've read up on these. So here we go. I'm just waiting for those 2 items to come in, and then we're going to get these 3 items up on coarse grit. I've got my coarse grit over here. Hello, Leroy. Hello, Pustat. On the washing machine. Better move it over closer to the project. So this is the first stage, which is coarse. Now these really don't need much in coarse because I didn't see any like saw scraping on any of these pieces. Well, there's some light saw scraping on this one. You can see that ridge right there. And again right there. But that's very light compared to some I've seen on other pieces, like my piece of opalized wood. And I don't see any on this. So these should be pretty fast. So, I'll start the next video when I get that up and running. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Fossil Bill again. I have gotten everything I need now to do the first stage. So I have gotten made my weighted rings. So now it's time to get the grit ready in the pan. So I've got my number 1 grit, I've got my tablespoon measure, I've got water. I just realized I don't have a measuring cup, so I will be right back. Okay, so it recommends using 1/3 of a cup of water. So here we go. That is not enough water. It doesn't even cover the bottom of the pan, so I'm going to turn it on to spread the water around a little bit. And it looks like it is a tiny bit off level. As you can see, I've got water over here above, and I've got no water, or just a tiny bit of water above over there. So I am going to stop the video, stop the Vibratory Flat Lap, and loosen the screws up and stick a little bit of a shim underneath this corner over here and lift that corner up just a slight bit to get it a little bit more even, because you can see that's dry over here and it's completely wet and submerged over there, so that is not a good thing. We want it even, so I'm gonna do that and I will be right back. Okay, now we've got it completely level. It's a good thing I bought a package of shims at the hardware store when I was there the other day, just in case. So there we go. Now, it recommends for each 1/3 of a cup of water. I used 2/3 of a cup of water. It recommended using 2 to 3 tablespoons of grit. So I'm going to start out with 4 tablespoons of grit. And it said the slurry should be like a hand lotion. It shouldn't be really pasty. It shouldn't be really watery. So here's my 80 grit. That's 1. Actually, let's see how that looks. Let's do 1 more. Sprinkle it around where they're going to keep it. Yeah, that's really watery, so I'm going to add some more. Okay, so that's 5. starting to be more of a slurry than a just a watery mixture. But I think one more will do it. Okay, there we go. Now, I will turn it off. Place my bumper rings. Place my stones. Fire it up. And as you can see, they're spinning. I probably should put weights on these two, so I think I'll do that. But as you can see, they're traveling around. And actually, I think I'm going to put in that other one. Or maybe not. It's going to be kind of tight with it in there. And I want to give these plenty of space to vibrate around. I don't want to cramp it up. But I'm going to pause it for a second and attach a weight to this one and a weight to this one because they're kind of bouncing. But there we go. They are pretty much set and running. I'm just going to do that one last thing and I will get that done and get these just started up and ready to go. So that's the first step. I'll give my progress as things go on. Okay, it's been running for 2 hours today. After about an hour and a half, this one got completely demarkered except where the marker permeated some porous spots and got into some cracks in the quartz. So I'm just going to go after that with some acetone to remove the ink from those areas. So that is perfectly flat now. This piece has some work to do. That piece has some work to do still. I had to add more weights to it. You see I stacked another weight on top of each one of those because it was not grinding down. I think there was too much surface area and not enough weight. I also, since I removed the big piece and I was still running it, I added in these pieces of agate and they are getting closer to getting done, but they're not quite there yet. And also I added in a piece of opal material and a piece of petrified wood over here. I just had to add a little bit more water, but everything is doing good. Everything's spinning as it should, and everything's looking good. So there we go. I'm probably going to take this ring out. It's too big for that piece. I'll wash that off and probably see if I can get this ring over it. Down over the bumpers at least, so that'll cushion around the edge. There we go. That'll cushion the areas that stick out beyond against this agate piece and this petrified wood piece over here, so we won't get any chipping. I see a little bit still sticks out, but that's not much, and it has to hit right up against that. So there we go. That gives it a little bit more room to travel around. I'm shutting it down for the night. I've got a little bit extra water in there, as you can see, so it shouldn't dry out overnight. I know they say to wash it out overnight, but the grit is still good. So I don't want to waste the grit. And, yeah, I'm going to wash it out. I'd rather do things the right way. There we go. I'm going to wash it out for the night. Wash off all the pieces, and start fresh tomorrow. That way, everything's new. Everything's fresh, and I'm doing things the way I should. So there we go. I've loosened the bolt. I've got a little dish of water here. You can see this piece is almost, you see I've got marker lines. Well, marker lines have gone away. I guess I didn't have the piece dry enough when I marked it. I put it in before I marked it, and I guess the piece was too wet when I put it in, so the marker didn't really cure to it. So I am going to have to mark those again tomorrow morning when I put them in. This one, it actually stuck. You can see it wore over here, and over here, and over there a little bit. The area in between is all low areas. But yeah, there we go. So I'll take up this video again in the morning. I will post this probably tonight, along with progress on all these. You can see I have some low areas. Actually, that's characters of the agate. So I guess that's done. That's porosity in the agate. So that is flat. Cool, cool. Let's check the other one. I popped that ring over it. It was a tight fit. This one is not done. You can see the high point there, and it's grinding there, and the high point, but it's not grinding anything down in the middle yet. So that is going to go back in the morning. This one I'm going to pop the ring up. Pick it up. Switch it around. See how the white ring around the edge is still dark? I think that area was more porous than the rest of it, So I'm going to have to grind down until it turns back white again, or cream colored. The rest of it is done. I just need to grind down until that restores to cream, or see if I can get it out, get it back restored with acetone. I didn't realize it was more porous than the center of the wood. Other than that, that piece is done. Now this, I've got some caked on grit. I'm going to knock that off of there and back into the slurry. Brush the top off, get all that grit back in. There we go. Now I'll show you the progress on this piece. Once again, it looks like the cream colored areas on this were more porous than the other areas. So we've got black where there should be cream. So I'm going to have to continue grinding that down until the black goes away. Also, I notice I've got some scratches. These are not scratches that were in it before, because you see there's no black in the low parts. So this is fresh scratches from being on here. So that means it needs to move around a little bit more. So that's from not having enough water and it scraped it. So I'm going to remark that area as black in the morning, and then I'm going to restart it fresh. I did have to add more water, so that's probably from when I needed to add more water and I didn't have more water in it and it was moving slow. So I'm going to take these out and use my handy dandy kitchen scrubber on it and wash it off. And I'll restart in the morning. Take care. Have a good night.